following this, we're gonna do a song by Cassandra Wilson, the musician and songwriter, called Justice. And so I've been fortunate to spend most of my adult life in an alley, in the sort of disregarded, one of the disregarded places of Charlotte. But we've got to stop building so many alleys. We've got to do something that looks more like justice for the folks who always wind up on the alley side of town, right? And as a white man, as a minister, I've got a particular set of responsibilities in this. And so in trying to communicate that, I thought I'd write a letter to my children to communicate to them their responsibilities in this work for justice as well. And the letter goes like this. Dear children, I'm trying to write to you because I love you. And as it is, with people who love one another, I have to try to tell you some hard things, things that are difficult to understand and even harder to change, but we cannot be free until we change them. And we cannot change them until we understand them. Do you remember the trips we made to the state fair in the fall of each year? Among all the stuff to do there were food, the rides, the animals. You and your mom sometimes went into the fun house. Along the path through the fun house, there were mirrors. One made you look like you had the legs of a giraffe. Another made you look as short and as wide as a hippopotamus. One made you look big and tall and wide, and it blurred out everything else around you. The images in those mirrors are like how our culture works. Our culture, the culture of white people, distorts reality. It makes us see things differently than how they really are. In America, the funhouse mirror moves people around. It takes people like us and moves us to the center of the reflection, and it moves people like our neighbors, people with more melanin in their skin, off to the edge. Sometimes it moves them out of the picture altogether. The mirror of our culture makes us and our families look bigger and more important, and our neighbors and their families look smaller and less important. You have already learned that this hurts our neighbors. We talk about some of the ways that it hurts them. Sometimes they lose their homes, or they do not have enough food, or their families have to live apart from each other because of unfair laws and unfair policing. You know this, and you see it, and you hate it already. I love that about you. But I need to tell you that although you cannot see it yet, this culture is harming you too, and me, and everybody who thinks they are white. When we see the reflection that places us at the center, it keeps us from understanding the truth about ourselves. It gives us a role in the story that does not belong to us. Not all the time, anyway. There's a long history among our people of thinking that we are heroes who bring good news to save the day. There may have been times when we did that, but many times our people have been on the wrong side of stories. We have taken other people's land or their children. Our people stole other people's futures. There are bad chapters in our story, and we have to tell them also. We especially have to tell them so that we can stop repeating them. This is hard to understand, my children. It keeps getting deeper. It begins to feel natural that the world works according to the rules of race, even though there is nothing natural about race. Neighborhoods are not naturally divided by race. People's ability to earn and save money and then pass it on to their kids is not naturally different because of the color of their skin. Mayors and governors and presidents are usually white, but this is not because our people are the best fit for the jobs always. And we don't have superior hearts or pancreases, even though our neighbors have heart disease and diabetes more frequently than our families do. All of these differences have come about because of decisions our ancestors made when they were building the United States. And those decisions have a cost. Choosing one thing requires leaving something else behind. Some of the cost of the cultural and political and economic and theological decisions that our ancestors made along the lines of race are easy to see. You already know that our neighborhood is being torn apart by gentrification and the forced movement of people we love. You know some of the history of our city, that this is not the first time forced movement has happened. You don't know the fancy terms for it yet, but you know how unfair rules have been forced on our neighbors. You have seen the violence done by policies. Together, we are learning to name that violence: health disparities, lack of opportunity, mass incarceration, the school-to-prison pipeline. Learning to name those issues is important, but learning only matters if it moves you to act. And the first act is to turn around, to stop looking in the funhouse mirror, to face the other way and to see the world as it really is and to see our place in it and to run towards freedom. I would like for us to run together. But running towards freedom does not mean running away from our own people. Once we get our eyes fixed, we're going to have to go back. You see, white folks have been using the funhouse as home base. They even send out missionaries from there and get other people to think that those crazy mirrors are real. Together we have to return to them and to the mirrors of distortion and preach some good news. That sounds easy, but our people love the distorted realities of the funhouse. It will take a while to talk them out. And who knows, sometimes we might get drawn back in ourselves. But if we stick together and pray together and sing together and listen to what we have heard our neighbors teaching us, we will start taking that funhouse down piece by piece until it is no more. When we finish, we will look out at the crowds of the carnival and they will be so beautiful. My God, they are beautiful. And finally, we will get to be a part of them. The work will be hard. It may be dangerous, for the demand of white folks above all else is that we keep the silence and maintain the lies of race. But we have lived too long near the ugly underside of those lies. We cannot be silent anymore. We will not be silent anymore. Besides, we come from a long line of malcontents and ne'er-do-wells from the rolling hills of western North Carolina. We owe it to them, and we owe it to ourselves, and maybe most importantly, we owe it to our neighbors to finally rebel for the right reason. Yours in love, Dad.
Bottle of justice, I'll take that bottle of justice. I hear it sets you free. I can be just about who I want to be. Who I want to be. I think I'll have some of that. Wrap it up real nice for me, please. Pass me a slice of opportunity. I'll have that slice of opportunity.